This will be our third fund. It's a $40 million fund. So we're giving people a chance now to say, hey, I want to be involved in big, giant real estate deals that pay money. These are deals that are doing anywhere from 160 to 200% returns. You put $1 million into a deal and you're coming out with $2 to $3 million, but it's going to take 10 years. This is not get rich quick, okay? If you're taking notes, write this down. Don't do the get rich quick, man. Go for the get rich for sure. I don't need to get rich quick. I want to get rich for sure. So I'm going to go from 4,000 units. How many do you think I should go to? I'm going to go to 40,000 units. This is what I'm going to do, and this is why I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to 40,000 units, and I'm going to get the whole world involved in it. You're either going to invest with me, or you're going to actually help me raise these funds. Okay, so when you see me on social media talking about other stuff, anything that you see me talking about, what I'm doing is building an audience so I can allow people to get in a vehicle to where everybody gets rich. Because let me tell you something, if you want to make happy customers for life, make them money.
Hey, Gary Cardone here, and welcome back to Power Players. Every week I bring you someone that is in power, has earned their way to power, and is generous enough to share their time and their expertise, so hopefully you can get yourself in power. Today I have somebody that looks a little bit like me, Gary Cardone. I've known this cat for 57 years. And some. Less 5 minutes. And some. This is my twin brother, okay? And this guy's done awesome in his life. Unbelievable stories, something that you should learn from. So Gary, before we get started, first of all, thanks for your time, man. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, for sure. Glad to be here.
I know how busy you are.
Yeah.
We're at his offices at Chargebacks 911 in Clearwater, Florida. They do, well, we'll talk about that in a second. But Gary, let's go back to like early on, okay? Everybody that I interview, they tell me something before 10 years old that they already knew something about the rest of their life, entrepreneurial. What was going on for you? I know what was going on for me at 8.
Yeah, what was going on for you?
Oh, well, they all know that story.
Oh, okay.
I want to know about your story. What was going on for you at 5 and 6 and 7, 8 years old?
Well, I think, I was trying to figure out who I am and who I was, and also, what was I good at? And, I had some health problems when I was young, so I had trouble doing sports, and when you're a twin, you have a very different set of dynamics in that you're looking at your brother who might be good at sports, and I'm trying to keep up with him. So Grant and I were always very competitive. My health problems were such that I just made a decision when I was probably 7 or 8 years old that I was going to hang out with the girls in the seats in the spectator and learn how to deal with people and hopefully have fun, because I definitely wasn't going to do it playing sports.
So what happened? What was the health problem? So
I had a surgery on my elbow. I was left-handed. I had a surgery and I had to flip around from being left-handed to being right-handed, and I was scared. I was scared to get hit. I remember playing football one time, going onto a football field, and Grant and I were like tiny little guys. I got hit one time, and I was smart enough to know this game is not for me. I did not want to get hit by bigger guys. So I was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. And so Gary had a surgery on his own, osteomyelitis?
Osteomyelitis, I think is what they call it. Whether or not that's really what I had or not, it's a completely different question.
Yeah. So that kind of puts you out of commission from being just a normal, everyday kid that's growing up and doing sports and stuff. So, all right.
But people all have their own dramas, right? Everybody's got a drama to tell about in their story. So, I mean, I could have crushed myself, I guess, become a little victim.
Yeah.
And rolled up and crawled up on the couch and disappeared, but, I didn't do that.
So what was going on for you? I mean, I know what experiences I was having at that time as a kid. We're in Lake Charles, Louisiana, but what was going on for you in your life? Like, what were you dealing with? And then into your teenage years?
Well, I was dealing with probably trying to stay out of trouble, I mean, that's what I was dealing with. Grant and I's dad died when we were really young, and that was about 8 or 9 years old. And then, my life got really pretty confusing, and I wanted to have fun. Didn't want to have any bad experiences. Was really interested in hanging around with girls, and that's twice on the girls. And but what was going on at 8 was I think I was quite frankly, I was probably pretty confused between 8 and 12 years old.
Yeah.
Very confused. Didn't know what I wanted to do. Didn't know what I was good at. Didn't have a lot of direction from anyone. And everybody can. I guess I could blame it all on everybody else. It's not really what I'm saying. It was just a fairly confusing time in my life.
So we go to high school.
Yeah.
We go do that deal. I know how hard high school was for me. I had my hands full, so I don't know how hard it was for you. But was school worth it? I mean,
Was school worth it?
And then college.
I think college, I have some interesting stories to tell about college, but I think high school was, if I look back at the education system that I got, I remember a guy when I moved to London, I met a guy that was very wealthy, and he was about my age, and he said, the 4 years you spent in college, I was making my first millions. And so
Wow.
and now he's worth, closing in on £1 billion. A very, very successful guy, but his viewpoint was he wasn't going to get taught what he needed to learn in school. I look back today and I remember going to my first economics course in college, and I remember the teacher. I remember exactly who he was. I remember his face, and I remember making the decision after I heard him say that when supply is greater than demand, and demand is greater than supply, prices will change relative to that. I was done. That's all I needed to know. That was the absolute, all I could get out of economics. I minored in economics. So when supply is greater than demand, prices will fall. And when demand is greater than supply, prices will rise. And anything beyond that, it just was not necessary for me.
And this becomes this one thing that you learn in college. what becomes really important in your career. I mean, that really shapes. When you hear the rest of his story, you're going to hear, dude, that one thing that he learned. It took 4 years? How long?
Well, it was really. It was 1 hour. It was a 1 hour class.
Yeah.
And then I ended up doing, I think 12 hours of economics. I didn't, I wasn't going to be an algorithmic quants specialist. I'm not that smart. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. So.
Yeah. When we come back, we're going to talk about. I got to tell you this story about. You remember not the economics, but the home.
Home economics or home.
I don't know. Whatever in high school.
Cook
I got
and
you
do
kicked out of
like
that class.
that. Oh yeah, you got me kicked out of
Awesome.
class.
Okay. All right, my name's Grant Cardone. This is my twin brother, Gary Cardone, at Gary Cardone. He runs a company called Chargebacks 911, multi-million-dollar company, on track for 100 this year. Maybe?
No,
That's not. Started that?
It's a private company, so we keep all that private.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, stay with us. We'll be right back for Power Play.
Integrative Communications has been supplying turnkey field mobility solutions since 2004. We've assisted many prestigious customers in providing access to field workers and asset information in real time while reducing mobility costs. We optimize workflows and deploy mission-critical applications. We saved the industry $40 million last year. To learn more, go to icomcorp.com. That's icomcorp.com right now. There's only one person you need to know when it comes to health, fitness, and a better lifestyle. Liz Nierzwicki started her fitness journey at 10, overcame OCD, and is the foremost expert in weight training and dieting. She's the author of the international best-selling Happy, Healthy, Fit, Transform Your Life in 90 Days with the Figure Fit Lifestyle Program. She's also the host of the Figure Fit Life podcast. Liz is there to ensure you achieve your goals in fitness. She knows every movement of the body, every food to eat to get in shape, to achieve your fitness goals. To learn more about Liz, go to liznierzwicki.com. That's liznierzwicki.com right now. Leave a mark in your neighborhood with a lasting impression. A professional landscape can deliver that and more. And the man to bring it to you is Steve Griggs. Awarded the National Best of Hows in Client Satisfaction in 2016 with clients such as Dr. Oz and the Palisades Center Mall in West Nyack. Steve Griggs crafts and delivers a brilliant landscape plan, guarantee your backyard oasis at a fair price. This isn't landscape design, this is lifestyle design. For more information, visit stevegriggsdesign.com. That's stevegriggsdesign.com. Nico's Computer Engineering is at the front of everything digital and technology. With the most advanced use of Amazon Web Services, artificial intelligence to predict your next sale, learn how to predict what your customers will buy next, learn how to know and automate your whole business so you can do one thing, go make more money. Tim Clark is the guy to know, a thriving entrepreneur and the mastermind behind artificial intelligent sales processes. Get automated, make more money, and grow your business with Nico's. Learn more at nicose.com. That's nicose.com right now.
Hey, welcome back to Power Players. Grant Cardone here. We're talking real estate on the break here. So Gary Cardone is my twin brother and a very, very unbelievably successful guy. He's run different companies, took a company to Europe and y'all made billions of dollars over there, right?
We did pretty well.
Yeah. So Gary, before we get started in that part of the story, you want to tell the home ec story?
Well, I think you want to tell the home ec story.
I need them to hear the home ec story.
On the break, Grant keeps like, hey, how can we sneak in this home ec story? So Grant and I made a decision when we were
11th grade, 12th grade.
Yeah, I think it was about the 11th.
Yeah,
the 11th grade.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the classes he was in.
I was in
driver's ed.
Driver's ed.
You were in driver's ed. I had
That's
broken
good.
one of my fingers. So I had a small cast on my finger, and we decided on a Friday afternoon to swap classes. And the rule was, hey, look, don't go in there and do anything that would jeopardize the other person.
It was a Friday afternoon.
It was a Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock and 2:30.
Yeah. And we switched.
Yeah,
right?
we switched. Now I've got a thing around my hand, so I've got to hide it from the teacher. I'm in class. I do really well. I show up the next Monday.
Nobody notices anything. He's got a cast.
We don't
on him,
talk.
but we're so identical.
Yeah.
People just
we don't
mix us
talk
up.
the next weekend. We don't do anything. I show up Monday at 2:30. I go in and walk into the
This
class.
home ex that I sat in Friday.
Typical rogue school player. You know, I have to be the absolute last person in the room just because I'm rebellious. And I walk through the door and the lady says, "Excuse me." Really aggressive too, and this lady must have been 600 years old. And she said, "Excuse me, I told you Friday never to return to this class." I'm like, what happened here? I'm like just going through my mind, what could have possibly happened? And then she just goes into a meltdown, dude, and just starts saying, you know, you were doing this and you were doing that, and you were throwing stuff, spitting balls, and anyway, I got kicked out for the rest of the year, and they pushed me off. Very interesting story, actually.
Yeah.
I was so bored in school, they pushed me to a guy named Bork. I remember his name.
Randy Bork.
He was the most difficult teacher in the school. History class at 8 o'clock in the morning. I made straight A's in that class because I respected him. He had rules, he had discipline, he had a set of parameters that he expected. And, you know, I went from making D's in some lady's home ec class because I wasn't engaged. I wasn't interested whatsoever. And this guy challenged me. I did really, really well.
And just the reason I did this was because I had to get even. I had to get even in the first grade. We were walking to class in the first grade. It was like the 5th day in school. And Gary, there's this kid waving his bag over his head, and Gary walks up to the kid and says, "Dude, if you do that again, I'm gonna knock your front 2 teeth out." And the guy did it one more time, and Gary just clipped him.
I think it was probably this way.
Yeah. Left hand, clipped him, and knocks one of his teeth out. 30 minutes later, I get called to the principal's office. This is back in the day when they put a board on you.
Yeah.
And the guy whipped me, and I never said a word because my mom taught us, you never cop out.
Well done, son.
You never cop out on family. Okay, so seriously now, even though that was a serious moment in my life. Okay, tell me about your move from Lake Charles. When do you move, what age were you? Because you left way before I did.
Yeah, I was, let's see, our mom kicked us out of the house at about 18 and said, I'm done. You guys are troublemakers, I'm done. That was a really, really powerful thing for me. Probably the turning point in my life was when my mom said, look, I'm done doing your dirty linen. I'm not cooking your meals. You cannot keep bringing girls to the house. I mean, we were just being pretty disrespectful, completely just out of control. Young 17-year-old, full of testosterone and just a bit crazy. We just didn't have a lot of direction, a lot of things to do. That was the point. We weren't being engaged. We were bored. And then, so I finished college at 20 with moderate grades. I just wasn't really that interested in school. And then it dawned on me, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? I'm 20 years old. I'm in a little tiny town of probably 60,000 people. I don't like it here. Everyone knows us because we're twins. And so
you didn't finish McNeese?
No, I finished.
Yeah, well, so you were 20, probably 22.
20, that's what I said, yeah. So 20 years old, 21, whatever, when we finished. And it just dawned on me, I think it was a March, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I had no clue, literally no clue. I really not listened to anybody. And it dawned on me that day, okay, I need to sink or swim. I need to do something. I need to change my life. And I made a decision right then and there, okay, knock off any of the recreational drugs, knock off the drinking, knock off all the partying, knock it off. And something that was really, really important was that I did an inventory on the people I was hanging around with, and I decided, hey, you know what? I have to literally disconnect from these people, because these people, we were all in a lifeboat, little tiny boat, and you know, everything was, this is what they expected to do in their life, this is what their parents expected them to do. And I realized that, you know, this middle class phenomena that occurs, I realized until I disconnect, burn my bridge, okay, I mean like burn it, torch it, hit it with C4, never be able to walk back again. And that was really, really powerful. You know?
You moved to where?
I moved to Corpus Christi, Texas. I got some interviews in the oil and gas business, and I begged.
You knew anything about oil and gas?
Not a thing. Okay, I couldn't spell oil. I thought gas pipelines were above the ground, and that would begin my career. I got a job. I told a man that, look, if you hire me, I'll become your best employee. And funny enough, he said, well, we don't have best employees here. And I said, well, that's because you haven't hired me yet. I was 22 years old. I was a punk. And that's how I got in the oil and gas business.
So, and how long were you in Brownsville? Or Corpus?
I was there for 4 years, and then I moved to Houston because I identified the company I really wanted to work for. And that's when my career really started.
So he moves out 7 years before I do. I stay in Lake Charles till I'm 29. He moves out. He starts his corporate career. So you were there how long? How long were you with that company?
Well, I was in Houston. I went to work for I was working for a very large company, well-known company. And there was another company up the road called Natural Gas Clearinghouse. And it was a startup, very risky, natural gas clearinghouse, really unusual name. I knew in my heart, I knew, and I cannot describe this or put it on a piece of paper or show it to you engineering wise, but I knew I had to work for these people. They were like calling me.
Let's stay there and we'll come back and talk about it. Now, this guy's going to leave this job and move to Europe here in a second. He's going to tell you about this monster risk he took and what it did for him, all right? You're watching Power Players with Grant Cardone. Stay with us.
Wealth Dynamics University is a coaching, education, and network expanding program. Our service is worth over $40,000 per year in value. Set smart goals that you'll be held accountable to achieving. Train daily on Cardone University and build a power network of like-minded people who are growing with you. Wealth Dynamics University is like having all of the answers written down for you, and all you have to do is show up, work hard, and listen. Wealth Dynamics U costs no more than your car payment. The difference, it will actually make you money. Go to wealthdynamics.com/university. That's wealthdynamics.com/university now to get started. Growing your future, protecting your past. J.D. Frost & Company, PLLC, is a public accounting firm. Offers a variety of assurance and tax services to businesses and individuals in the Chattanooga and surrounding areas. We focus on construction and manufacturing industries. Our primary objective is client satisfaction through excellent customer service. Work with the best. We are accredited by the BBB. This is J.D. Frost & Company for a full suite of tax assurance and management accounting services. Visit us right now at frostcpas.com.
Welcome back to Power Players. This is my twin brother, Gary Cardone. He runs a company called Chargebacks 911. Very, very successful company. They do a great service for other companies, entrepreneurs, where they collect bad debt. We'll talk about in a second. So Gary, you're going to move now to Europe. Tell them what happened with the company that they didn't want you working in America, and they said, hey, go do that.
No.
They weren't promoting you.
You got the story wrong.
Okay.
So I was in Houston in 1987. Went to work for this company. I was making $60,000 a year. I was 27 years old.
That's a lot of money, man.
Oh yeah,
Right?
no, but I was, yeah, and I was with a really large corporation. It was a Fortune 50 company. Went to work for this small little company who had nothing. The old company had oil and gas assets, and they had pipelines, and so I went to work for this company called Natural Gas Clearinghouse. Would literally have worked for zero, and went to work for these two men who were both my age. I was the 12th employee. I didn't know it, but they were actually having a hard time making payroll. Went to work for them and began what I believe in earnest was the beginning of my career of working with extremely smart, aggressive, hard working people. These were not guys with MBAs.
It's a different scene than you had left.
Totally, man. This is
not
like
corporate, more
this is like
entrepreneurial.
moving from blue chip corporate America to a startup.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it was a
yeah,
startup.
yeah.
And was their 12th commercial employee. Spent 5 years there and ran 3 different businesses for them. Learned so much. I mean, that was such an invaluable experience. And the message there that you learn after 30 or 40 years is, I think too many people make the wrong decision about going to work. They're going to work for a company, but you should think about going to work for really, really bright people.
Yeah. So
Because that's where you learn.
more for the opportunity than for the money.
Absolutely. Unequivocally look for smart people. Look for,
Yeah.
and not so much, how many holidays do you get
Yeah.
and all that bullshit, but like who knows more than you? And can you learn something from these
So
people?
you talk about your move to Europe and how hard that was, and
Yeah.
then I know how good it was for you and what it did to open up your understanding of the world.
Yeah, so I was doing a lot of journaling at the time about, hey, who am I? What am I doing? I had always believed in really inventorying myself and pushing myself and being positive and reading lots of books. And so in that journaling, I believe in postulates. I believe in making a decision about who I am, but thinking about it in the future, but placing it in present tense. I am a billionaire, for instance. Okay, well, I'm not a billionaire today, but at least I began sending this message to myself over and over. I am something. I am, not I'm going to be. Because if you do the I am going to be, it's always going to be. So
Right.
I have to make it in the present. So anyway, for some reason, I wrote in my journal one day, I said, I'm going to run an oil company in Europe.
Wow.
Literally, I don't know where it came from. I was writing that. Okay, wrote it down. I'm going to run an oil and gas company in Europe. 4 months later, a British entity called British Gas, the largest oil company in England, buys 20% of our company. And that afternoon, I wrote a letter to my boss and wrote a note. I said, hey, I'd love to go and help them. I would like to go and do some advisory services for them. They laughed at me. I was married at the time. They laughed at me. They said, we will never send you. I was running, I managed about 30% of the entire electric and gas load in the western states of the United States. And they were like, we're never going to let go of you. You're too important here. And they could not find, we had about 500 or 600 staff at that time.
Wow, it went from 12 to 500.
Yeah. And the funny thing about Americans, especially, only 30% of Americans have passports. We are very insulated in the country as far as its employees and understanding of global commerce. And they could not get anyone to go to England. Everyone wanted to stay with the mothership because we were doing this. We were taking off.
Right,
okay?
right.
And so the guts to be able to say, hey, I want to go do something. Because I had recognized after 5 years, when you're working with guys and they're all your age, like I was the second tier. So I was never going to make it up into senior management. They're not, it's not like they're all going to die. They're all 28.
So you were a bit stuck.
I was stuck, man.
You had to make a move.
I had the ultimate
to make a
glass
move.
ceiling. So I'm sitting here going, hey, how do I now leverage my 7 or 8 years? How do I really leverage that? Well, in order to leverage something, sometimes you got to take some risk. Mm-hmm. And so I looked at it and said, look, if I could go and advise one of the biggest oil companies in the world in another country, what a great experience. What's my downside?
Yeah.
I fail? That's my downside. Come on, man. If that's my downside. So I basically convinced them to let me go.
Moved to London, you
moved
never
to London.
been there.
Dude, I
Okay.
couldn't spell London.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then what happened with the company there?
Well,
How big did it get? I mean, I want them to know what happened.
yeah, so we hired 8 people, and I began doing research. I wrote a white paper. A white paper is a research paper, a strategy paper on what someone should do to build their business. And I wrote this, probably the best piece of work I've ever done in my life. Really, I was 31, 32 years old. I looked really young, which was always a liability for me.
Still good.
Yeah, but when you're 32 and you look 20,
Yeah,
and you're dealing with British people that
you're too young, and
they
you're
got
very-
drivers and they go to the country clubs. They thought I was a punk. So looks can be deceiving. So I did this really great paper on what they needed to do to control the entire European energy market. It was a brilliant piece of work. If they'd listened to me, they'd be in a very different position. But nonetheless, we built a business. They said, no, we don't really like your idea. So I went back to the States to my seniors, and I said, look, I think we can make some money here. Let me stay over there now that my consulting deal is gone with them. And I went over there on a day-to-day contract. I mean, I had no security whatsoever, but I knew I will be here. And I knew in my mind, I said, I'm not coming back.
Yeah. So what? I want to know how big it got.
Yeah. So
you stringing me
yeah,
out.
we had 8
I
guys.
need to know.
I studied the market for 12 months.
Yeah.
People started teasing me because I had this reputation of being a very aggressive speculative trader, and that's what we were doing. I was speculating on forward prices of energy, and but I studied the market, and it took me about 18 months to figure it out. Within 18 months, people were laughing because we hadn't done a deal. About month 20, we made $180 million. And and it really taught you.
So was that because you did your homework?
I did my homework.
Yeah.
I did my homework and then I executed the homework. You got to do both. I see a lot of people executing before they've done the homework. They're pulling the trigger before they've isolated the
I've been
target.
able to do that.
Yeah, and what you have to do is isolate the target and shoot. You can't. Many people study the markets, overstudy.
Right.
You got to know when to
it.
hit it, and that's a piece that someone has blessed me with the ability to execute.
And then now you create this great opportunity. You guys are making a ton.
Well,
of
not
money.
only did we make
Why-
180, not only did we make 180, but the British Gas bought us out for another 150. So we made like $300 million in literally 24 months in a market the size of California.
So why did you leave that deal? Because now you're running your own deal.
Why did I
'Cause
leave
want
it?
to talk
No,
about
no,
chargebacks now.
Yeah, so I left that deal. They bought us out.
Yeah.
And then the British company was kind enough to say, hey, you guys, we're taking the 10 people for $300 million. They can have all the people. We're taking the 10 people, but we're going to leave you and you can play in our sandlot. That's what they said. You can play in our sandlot. That was a huge mistake for them. Okay, because then we built another company. We were trading natural gas in the first company. It was called Accord Energy. And then the second company was called Natural Gas Clearinghouse Europe. Dynegy Europe, which we have now become a public company. And we went on to make $1 billion in electricity. I didn't know anything about electricity. And so we went and studied the electric market. I went from 1 employee to 600 employees in 3 years. And then in 2002, after the Trade Center event, 9/11, after about 6 months of that, I looked at Enron's books because we were going to consider buying Enron and saving them. And the books at Enron were so devastating and I just felt like I've had a great ride. I've been in an industry for 24 years, and you know what? I can always recreate my career. I need to take some time off and look at who I am, what I'm doing. I just realized it was more scary for me to leave than it was for me to stay. And I thought that I could learn something from leaving. So I came back to the U.S.
So we're going to come back. I'm going to come back and pick up 9/11 some other time.
Yeah.
I want to talk about chargeback and what you're doing for people today. But what I want to do is I want everybody to get some takeaways from you. I heard you talk about inventories. Like you inventory, you journal a lot. Throughout your life, you went back and looked at what your pluses and minuses were. I heard you talk about taking risks today and how that paid off for you. And I know one of the things I envied, really, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I really envied was your big move to Europe and how because he'd call me up and say, dude, I'm fishing in Russia.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are some of the places you've been to?
I mean, I've been everywhere. I mean, I fished in Russia, 3 times up in the Arctic Circle. I fished at 4 o'clock in the morning with billionaires, in big river streams.
Playing guts for how much?
Playing 3-card brag and pontoon, these crazy gambling games that the Brits make. No, I've been a lot of places and I've learned a lot.
And what did that do for you getting over there and seeing how big the world is and the opportunities?
Gosh, it just, it does everything. It gets me comfortable with currencies. It gets me an understanding of global commerce that, and today it's really, really relevant because this is no longer a theoretical exercise on the globalization of the world. The globalization of the world has occurred. If you're leaving school, okay, when he and I left school, we were competing with 30,000 jobs, max 30,000 jobs, 30,000 people that are looking for those same jobs, right? Today, those same 20-year-olds are competing with 1.3 billion people who have multiple language skills, very good multilinguals, probably two, maybe three. Hungry, okay? 1.6 billion people live under $3 a day. 60% of this population cooks on wood today.
Wow.
Still cooks on wood. No
Wow.
one understands that.
Wow.
So these people would love to cook on coal.
Yeah.
You're cooking on electricity. They would love to cook on coal. This is what all these smog issues are about in China. And we're being condemning, but let's remember what we did in the 30s. We polluted this country for our industrial revolution. So I think the opportunity, there's this funky thing going on in the year 2020 up to 2020, which is the globalization of the world. Tons of technology changes that allows you to reach CEOs of company without going through intermediaries. I call CEOs of companies, I don't need brokers and agents and a resume that's got 30 years of experience on it. The internet and technology allow me to grasp and contact real movers and shakers in this
Okay,
market.
Gary, so Gary, that's awesome. I love this globalization idea and that competition and people are hungry and you're not competing with 30,000. What one word of advice would you give an entrepreneur, maybe a new employee, somebody coming out of college, that's who's watching this, or maybe a guy 50 years old, our age, and then he's in transition. One word.
Well, we started this business when I was 50. Actually, we were going to have our first child, and I thought, I didn't need to work again, but I thought, I don't want my kid watching me play golf, smoke cigars, and play on the internet all day long. That is a horrible message to my children. So I need to get back to work. My wife and I decided, plus 2007 was here. 2007 was painful on even the wealthy, believe me. And I realized, hey man, all the money I've stacked up, I actually need to put that money back to work. I had invested money with other people and it didn't go well, except my investments with you in real estate. It's the only thing that went well. Then I decided, look, I'm no longer investing passively. I'm going to control my funds. And my wife and I built a business. And we started experimenting with the internet. And it was really, really fascinating. Extremely painful 7 years. Extremely painful. People look at our business
So 7
today.
years, so it's
2002 to 2000,
Oh, okay.
2009,
Yeah.
and then we pivoted in 2011 to learn this business. We basically discovered a problem that was attacking us on the internet, and we couldn't find anybody to solve the problem, so we built a business around it.
Yeah, and so just a short story, they were selling products on the internet.
Yeah.
They got banged with a bunch of chargebacks.
A bunch of fraud. We got handled with a bunch of fraudulent transactions.
They froze up. He calls me up one day. He's like, dude, they just froze up every single account I had. The banks froze up because of a handful of charges.
Yeah.
They froze millions of dollars in their accounts. They couldn't make payroll, couldn't pay for their goods. I mean, literally, it froze the business up. This happens to a lot of companies. And rather than them submitting to the situation, they looked at how it could be. They created another business from the problem.
That's right.
And I always tell people, man, look for new problems. Gary and his wife have done an unbelievable job of confronting a problem and saying, hey, what's the problem? This is a problem for us. It's probably a problem for other people.
That's right.
Okay, Gary, favorite, whether you've owned it, not owned it, or wanted to, I always do this, favorite automobile. Like if you had a favorite car.
My favorite automobile?
Yeah. But whether you owned it or didn't own it.
Favorite automobile?
Favorite car.
I'd say,
Favorite car.
I gotta say the Range Rover I have today is probably the best car I've ever owned.
He knocks off
The big monster
Yeah.
Range Rover. It's a great vehicle. I've never bought one because they don't discount them.
Favorite watch.
Favorite watch, it would be a G-Shock.
Yeah, okay.
They don't die, man.
Good. Now he's a big fisherman. This guy loves
Yeah.
to fish, man, right? Favorite fishing trip.
Favorite fishing trip would be, I think, fishing in a river stream in England for a 3-pound trout with a 1-ounce rod.
3 pounds on a 1 ounce.
3 pounds,
Wow.
3-pound trout on a
That's
1-ounce
like
rod.
300
This
times.
rod, you barely
Yeah,
feel it.
yeah. One word you would give any entrepreneur out there. One word that would be like, dude, live by this.
Focus. You know what? Too many people don't focus. Look, the attention span this year, if you read, I read a lot, and I would encourage everyone to read.
What if you don't like
There
to
is
read?
no book.
What if you don't like to read?
you know what, if you don't like to read, there's something wrong, okay?
Yeah.
Because there must be something you don't understand about it, because reading is really fascinating. You don't have to read a book. Read snippets. Read news. I read a tremendous amount of news, economic and business news, leaders. Read a book on Steve Jobs. Read a book on Grant Cardone. Read about successful people. Why would you want to follow somebody that's not successful? People complaining about Donald Trump. When I was 4 or 5 years old, I remember sitting in church with my family and hearing, the fruit does not fall far from the tree. Say what you may about religions, but that theory, that premise of the fruit does not fall far from the tree. I look at a guy like
So
Donald
you say
Trump.
the people you're surrounded with.
Yes, the people I'm surrounded
Yeah.
with. What am I creating? Look
Yeah.
at the people that you do business with. Are they good people or bad people? Okay, are their children good?
Yeah.
Do they have good manners? I look at some of these people and I'm like, I wouldn't invite some of these people into my home.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not suggesting that I would
Yeah,
invite
yeah.
Donald Trump into my home. I don't want. But I look at like his children. I see productive,
Right.
quality, intellectual people that can communicate. I don't see that from some of the other.
Yeah, don't go all political on
Yeah.
us, man. This is power players. This is my twin brother, Gary Cardone, a true power player, okay? What would you say if somebody had a chance to sit in that chair? Okay? Hey,
Well, I'm sitting here trying to figure out how much this has already cost me, but go
yeah.
ahead.
What does somebody have to do to create, like just a little one sentence? What would somebody have to do to do whatever they got to do in their life to say, hey, they have something to share with
First
people
off,
like you have to?
yeah, first off, you have to make a decision of where you're going to fit in the food chain. I'm a fisherman, and I know that, small fish are eaten by bigger fish, and bigger fish are eaten by even bigger fish. So where are you going to be in the food chain? Because you are in a food chain. Business is about competition. Life is about competing and surviving. This concept of survival is silly. I want to thrive. I see him thriving. I see the people around him thriving. They're not just surviving. People in Vietnam, in Russia, in China, in North Korea, they are surviving.
Yeah.
Okay? Are they thriving and
You mean just
prospering?
getting by, not
just getting by.
Yeah. Hey, Gary Cardone, CEO of Chargebacks. Got a lot out of this interview. Gary, thank you so much for
thank
sharing
you,
your
buddy.
time, your generosity.
Great to see you,
You're an
man.
awesome dude. You've been a great inspiration to me my whole life. I mean, I remember you making an analogy one day about NASCAR and racing, and many times I've been drafting,
Yeah.
just like following in your footprints, and so you've been a real inspiration to me, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy.
Appreciate who you
Same
are.
here.
Hey, I look forward to the day that you sit here. Until next time, this is Power Players.
Thanks, guys.
Producers and creators are the sources of all value on the planet. MC Lobster, the host of the top-rated business and investing podcast Cashflow Ninja, is on a mission with Producers Wealth to help producers create, protect, and multiply their wealth outside of Wall Street in any economy by creating systems and processes that help them increase their production, provides them with liquidity, passive income generators, and opportunities for enormous growth. Learn more about their time-tested and proven systems at yourownbankingsystem.com. That's yourownbankingsystem.com.
This will be our third fund. It's a $40 million fund. So we're giving people a chance now to say, hey, I want to be involved in big, giant real estate deals that pay money. These are deals that are doing anywhere from 160 to 200% returns. You put $1 million into a deal and you're coming out with $2 to $3 million, but it's going to take 10 years. This is not get rich quick, okay? If you're taking notes, write this down. Don't do the get rich quick, man. Go for the get rich for sure. I don't need to get rich quick. I want to get rich for sure. So I'm going to go from 4,000 units. How many do you think I should go to? I'm going to go to 40,000 units. This is what I'm going to do, and this is why I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to 40,000 units, and I'm going to get the whole world involved in it. You're either going to invest with me, or you're going to actually help me raise these funds. Okay, so when you see me on social media talking about other stuff, anything that you see me talking about, what I'm doing is building an audience so I can allow people to get in a vehicle to where everybody gets rich. Because let me tell you something, if you want to make happy customers for life, make them money.